Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Before we jump into today's video, please do me a small favour. Make sure to drop a like on this episode. Let's try and see 500 likes today, and be sure to subscribe. Bottom right hand corner. We are going to be talking a bit about Victor Osimhen today. We're going to be talking about more job cuts. And the question I've got for you this morning is this: is Victor Osimhen the player Manchester United should be prioritising in the summer transfer window? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you think there's somebody else we should be looking at, let me know the name instead. But we will start the show off with Victor Osimhen, because this is a name that just doesn't seem to be able to go away at the moment, right? Obviously, we had the Gyökeres links for a long, long time. And then there was that really big article that came out from, I think it was The Athletic a couple of months ago, saying that apparently Manchester United are going to walk away from the Victor Gyökeres deal because they think he's too old, which doesn't make any sense to me because Gyökeres and Osimhen are the same age. So I don't really get that. How can one player be too old and one player not? It just doesn't make sense. It sounds like rubbish. But Fabrizio has been talking in the last 24 hours about Victor Osimhen to Manchester United. And he is saying that Manchester United are attentive to Victor Osimhen and Victor Gyökeres. He says United are being informed on both the situations, with weekly updates being provided in relation to a summer transfer. He says the budget will be crucial, though. So Fabrizio has confirmed, because I know there's a lot of people who think, oh, it's just speculation. We're not interested. We're not going to get them. Fabrizio this morning has confirmed that Manchester United are looking at these two players and they are our number one target for the summer window. But as we all know, it all depends on whether we get European football. We know that the route through the Premier League is now, I'm going to say it's unobtainable, but I was thinking about this yesterday, right? And this is all completely hypothetical, obviously, but just for argument's sake, like, the Premier League is actually crazy this season. There is only 3 points at the moment between 10th place and 5th place, which is Champions League. And obviously we're in 15th place, so we're quite a lot further down than that. But it's mad, isn't it? And I know the league title race has not been very competitive. Liverpool have walked away with it. But when you actually look between kind of 10th and 4th, there really isn't much of a gap. There's 3 points between 10th and the 4th at the moment. And I think 5th place gets Champions League this year as well. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it does actually, the more I think of it, feel like an opportunity missed. Because I remember when Erik ten Hag got sacked, we were only 3 points off top 4. I think we were in 10th place, weren't we? And we were 3 points off top 4. Now we've dropped down to 15th and we are 14 points off top 4, which is obviously makes it pretty much impossible. Mathematically, yeah, we can still do it, but we'd have to win, I think we'd have to win at least 10 of the last 12 games, which we're not going to do. You know, we play teams like Arsenal. We've got to play Man City again. We've got to play Liverpool again, I think. No, we don't play Liverpool again, do we? Anyway, we've got some difficult games coming up. I think we play Newcastle away, Nottingham Forest away. But yeah, it does feel a little bit like a bit of a missed opportunity, really, because we need European football. We know that. If we want to sign players like Gyökeres, Osimhen, like, we need European football. They're probably not going to come to Manchester United if we're not in the European competitions. So it might be that our top targets at the moment are these two players, which it seems like they are. But in reality, if we continue to suffer like we are now, the only real reason these players would then come to Manchester United is for money, which is not something we really want to encourage anymore. So it then kind of makes you think about players like Liam Delap from Ipswich. That's probably a likely option. Ipswich are almost definitely going to get relegated. And he's a player who is available this summer. He's a player who's done pretty well in the Premier League this season, I think. He's got 10 goals, 2 assists in 25 games. So he's averaging a goal or an assist every other game in the Premier League at the moment, which is very good for a 22-year-old, you know. And I know people always say, oh, you're always mean about Højlund, but you compare him to Højlund, who is the same age, 22 years of age. Højlund is arguably playing with better players, with a better manager, and he's got 2 goals in 21 games, Højlund. I mean, it's not great, is it? For somebody of this, and people will say, oh, he's new, he's only just come to the league. Liam Delap's the same age. This is his first season in the Premier League. So I think Liam Delap was playing in the Championship, wasn't he? When did he join Ipswich? Was it 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's a decent option, but I don't think he's going to make much difference in relation to our, where we finish in the league next season. If we want to really, really, really push on, we need like a world-class striker, I think. I know Liam Delap joined in July 2024, so at the beginning of the season, from Manchester City's under-21s. He's available for around 40 million euros, apparently, Liam Delap, which is a hell of a lot less than Gyökeres and Osimhen. Osimhen's release clause is, I think, about 75 million euros, and Gyökeres is around the same. So you could potentially get Liam Delap for like half the price of Gyökeres or Osimhen, but realistically, Gyökeres is in his prime, Osimhen is in his prime. Liam Delap's kind of still at the beginning of his career, isn't he? If you look at Gyökeres' stats this season, he's got 6 goals in 8 Champions League games, 23 goals in 22 Portuguese League games. I mean, those are phenomenal stats. You can say, oh, it's the Portuguese League, but to have scored 6 goals in the Champions League in the group stage is impressive, I think. And his stats are unreal. How's Osimhen doing this season? I know he's been doing quite well for Galatasaray, hasn't he? Let's have a look. Osimhen's got 14 goals in 18 games in the Turkish league, which is decent. And he's got 6 goals in 7 Europa League games. So yeah, he's done well, Osimhen. He's got 20 goals and 5 assists in 25 games. So goal or an assist every game that he's featured in this season, which is very decent. Very good stats. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Like, who? I know we're still a little way away, but we need to start thinking about the summer. I think it is something that we need to start looking at. Who do you think we should go for? I can see Al in the chat is saying we should look at Jonathan David. That's a really good shout, to be fair. Like, how would you feel if we went for someone like Jonathan David and a Liam Delap? Jonathan David obviously plays for Lille. He's available as a free agent this summer. His contract is up with Lille, so he will cost us no money. And there's also obviously talks of Angel Gomez, who came through the youth academy, returning to Manchester United. His contract is also up. If we were to look at, say, a Jonathan David, he's got 6 goals in 8 Champions League games, which is decent. And he has got 12 goals in 21 French league games. So he's done very well. Very, very well. And, if I was to say to you that we could get him for nothing, no transfer fee, there would probably be some sort of signing on fee, I imagine. But I think he is a decent option. So, yeah, that's a really good suggestion. Al, thank you for that. Anthony says, why has Osimhen been loaned out? I think he fell out with Conte, I think. Or fell out with Napoli. I know there was some sort of social media post, wasn't there, that went out about Osimhen and he didn't like it. Do you remember that? Last season, I think it was. And they were kind of like taking the mick out of him. And then after that, it just never really was the same. So, yeah. RD United says, would you sell Højlund and Xerxes to fund Osimhen? I'd sell Højlund, definitely. I think I would keep Xerxes for one more season. I think he's a decent player. I think Xerxes has improved in the last couple of weeks. I think he has responded really well to that situation where, I mean, he wasn't booed himself. You remember at Old Trafford, he was kind of jeered, but that was about the whole team. But I think Xerxes has responded well. If someone said to me that, we could get a profit on Xerxes, I would consider it, of course. But yeah, I would 100% look to move Højlund on, I think. He's been here 2 years. He's getting worse. He doesn't look like he's, enjoying football anymore. I think that whole I play for Man United honeymoon phase is kind of gone for him. We had that whole thing at the beginning where it was like, oh, he's a Man United fan. He loves it. This is his dream come true. And it's like, that's kind of gone now, for me. We can't just keep a player because he was a boyhood Man United fan. I don't know what you think about that. Maybe you disagree. I think most of you would agree, to be fair. I wanted it to work. Maybe it will still work, but I just think we're 2 years into it now. To have scored 2 goals in the Premier League in 21 games. I mean, it's not great, is it? And I know people always say, oh, he doesn't get chances, he doesn't get this. I think a lot of the time he doesn't get chances because he's not in the right positions, to be honest. Like the amount of times the ball gets played into the box and he's nowhere to be seen. He's outside the box wrestling with the defender, thinking that he's, a professional wrestler, not a professional footballer. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I think there will be a lot of interest in Højlund in the summer, especially from Italy. We know that Juventus are looking for a striker, with Vlahovic set to leave. So he's definitely one to watch for the summer, I think. What else have we got here in the chat today? Al says, I would take 20 million for Onana. Is that a realistic price? I think we'd probably get a little bit more than 20 million for Onana. He's 28, I think. He's not that old for a goalkeeper. Ardy says, I think we could get around 35 million for Højlund, 35 million for Xerxes. Yeah, that's probably fair. Ant says, we can't sell Højlund this summer. He needs to go out on loan to increase his value. But where would you loan him to, though? Like, I honestly think that if you wanted to increase Højlund's value to the max, you'd want to loan him to, like, a team at the bottom of the... I mean, I say team at the bottom of the Premier League. We're at the bottom of the Premier League. So, I don't know. Where do you loan him to? Where's the next step down? He's playing for a team who are closer to the relegation than they are to the top 4, and he's still struggling. So, where do you loan him to? Championship? I don't know. Paul says we still owe money for these players, don't forget. Yeah, we still do owe money, but the thing you have to remember is obviously the way that PSR works is it's done over the 5-year period. So if we were to look at to look at Højlund as an example, right? His transfer fee was 74 million euros. You divide that over 5 years. By the time it comes to the summer, he'll have been here for 2 years, 2 complete years. So you do. So the remaining balance on the amortization would be 44.4 million euros. So as long as we got that or more, we would make a profit, or we wouldn't make it. Yeah, so 36.8 million pounds is how much we'd have left to pay on Højlund in the summer. Whereas I think Xerxes, obviously he was like half the price of Højlund, wasn't he? So I don't think you'd have any trouble selling him if that was a route we wanted to go down. He was, let's have a look. He was 42 million euros on a 5-year deal. So 42 divided by 5 minus 42. So we'll have 33 million euros left to pay on Xerxes' deal in the summer. So as long as you get more than 33 million for Xerxes and like 40 million euros for Højlund, you'd make a profit in relation to PSR anyway. So yeah. Max says Casemiro needs to go as well. Yeah, I personally think Casemiro is just going to sit on his backside and wait until his contract ends. He's earning 350 grand a week. He's not going anywhere, I don't think, because the only place that will pay that type of money is Saudi, and even then, Saudi probably aren't going to pay him much more than 350k a week. So as much as we want Casemiro to go, it's probably not going to happen, realistically. Right, let's move on from that. Let's talk a little bit about more job cuts. And there was a story that came out this morning, which I just thought was quite funny. It's not to do with job cuts, it's to do with Ineos. And there's been another leak coming out of Old Trafford. And again, this is from the staff at Old Trafford. And the report this morning is that apparently Ineos have stopped the staff and the coaches from having the usual food that they get at Carrington at lunchtime. So obviously, if you've seen the videos of Carrington or any professional sports place, it'll be like a big buffet and they'll have loads of nice, healthy, nutritious food that is available to them for free to eat on their lunch break. Yeah, just like in your workplace, you might have a similar thing. You have a canteen. You can go down there and you can have your lunch for free, right? So it's been leaked this morning. So somebody's obviously sent this to the tabloid newspapers today that The lunch at Carrington for everyone except for first-team players has now been reduced to only soup and sandwiches. This is for all the coaches, manager, obviously, he's included in that, and the analysts. So anybody who isn't a player is now only allowed to have soup and bread, effectively, in a sandwich. It's just funny, isn't it? It's just, oh, God. Like, they're literally penny pinching in the most ridiculous ways. And the thing that I don't understand about this, right, is anybody who knows anything about health and nutrition, regardless of whether you're the player or you're a coach, you want to power your staff, right? You want to give them healthy, nutritious food that keeps them at 100% throughout the day. So instead, they're like, oh, let's just give them a soup and a sandwich. I don't know, it's just ridiculous. I mean, how much money are they really saving per person from doing this? What, like £5-10 a day maybe? You know, if you look at that over a course of a month, right? Say there's 50 coaches at Manchester United that this affects, right? And their old lunch cost them a tenner, £10, let's say. And you look at that over a month period. So over a month, right? This is obviously just loose sums. It might be a little bit less, a little bit more, but let's just go on the basis that there's 50 people now who aren't allowed to have what they want for lunch. They have to have these soup and sandwiches. You might save what, maybe £10,000 a month, which over the course of the year is what, like £100,000. And you think of all the negatives of that. So the positive is you save £100,000 a year, which is 1/3 of Casemiro's weekly wage, is less than what Luke Shaw gets paid a week, is less than what Mason Mount gets paid a week, etc., etc., etc. Right? But then on the flip side of that, the morale within the Carrington, within the coaches, etc., is going to be like, why the hell are we being forced to eat this? We don't want to eat this. And as well, you know, there's lots of people of different nationalities who work for Manchester United, right? Soup and sandwiches is like, that's like the most typical British winter lunch, isn't it? I just think, you know, if you're somebody who maybe eats different food, I don't know. I just think it's so restrictive to be like, you can only have this. It's just weird. I know it's maybe a little bit mad to be spending this much time talking about it, but it's just another example of the ridiculous penny pinching that they're doing. And people are saying, is this a joke? I mean, it's literally all over the tabloid newspapers this morning that, you know, somebody from the coaching team or somebody from Carrington has leaked it, and there's a picture of it as well, and it just looks like the most depressing lunch you've seen. I saw somebody in the comment section saying that Luke Shaw was smuggling out food for Ruben Amorim so he could have what he wanted. Like, people are just laughing. It's gone beyond a joke now, isn't it? It's gone beyond a joke. Somebody says, why can't the players take pay cuts? Because they're all on contracts, and the legalities around getting players to take a pay cut is just not going to happen, unfortunately. It seems like the obvious thing, doesn't it? Like, let's reduce the underperforming players' wages, and instead we will give Eric Ten Hag 14.5 million. Instead, we'll sack Dan Ashworth after 2 months and give him 4.5 million. Somebody says, you're missing the point. This tells me we're close to bankruptcy. We can't be close to bankruptcy. If we were close to bankruptcy, why would they sack Eric Ten Hag and pay him 14.5 million? They wouldn't, would they? Somebody who's close to bankruptcy wouldn't pay out 14.5 million to bring in a different manager with different ideas midway through the season. They would have said, we're going to wait till the summer. We'll see what happens. And they would have saved themselves probably 6 million from not sacking him mid-season. So, yeah, I don't think we're close to bankruptcy, to be honest. Gregory says, do you think this Manchester United team can win another 3 games and draw one before the end of the season to get us up to 40 points? I don't think we'll need 40 points, to be honest with you. I thought that to begin with, but I don't think we'll need it. I really don't. Like, if you look at the teams below us, right? Ipswich are on 17 points. Ipswich are on 17 points and Southampton are on 9 points. So if you do some basic maths, so you do Ipswich have 17 points. They've played 26 games, right? And then so the Ipswich are averaging 0.65 points per game so far this season. Times that by 38. If Ipswich continue with the same points per game as they are now, they'll finish on 24 points at the end of the season. Do you see where I've got that maths from? So I took the amount of points they have now, divided it by the amount of games they've played, and then timesed it by 38, which is how many games there are in a Premier League season. So unless Ipswich suddenly go on a mad winning streak, which is incredibly unlikely, if they carry on with the same form they're in now, they'll finish on 24 points, which is 6 points below what we're on. And obviously Leicester's the same. They're on, and Southampton I think are already too far adrift. We're 21 points ahead of Southampton. They're not gonna catch up with us. So obviously we are still mathematically in a relegation battle, but yeah, I don't think so. If we beat Ipswich on the weekend, we'd be 16 points ahead of them, and I think by that point it's pretty much done. 16 points ahead with only 11 games to go. So yeah, it looks like we will be staying up, which is amazing. Somebody says, I agree, though. In all my years working, no employer has provided free food to me unless special occasions. I understand why Ineos are doing it, but for staff to leak it is a joke. I think it's kind of different, though, isn't it? When you're working in a professional sport environment, it's not like they can pop out for lunch. I think Carrington's pretty far away from anywhere, isn't it? And the point being is every other Premier League club and every other football club provides their team, their coaches, their staff, healthy, nutritious lunch. This isn't the people who work in the ticketing and stuff. This is just the people who work at Carrington in training, the coaches. I get, like, don't give every single employee that you have, like somebody who works from home, a free lunch. I'm not saying that by any means. I'm saying the people who work at Carrington should, it's all. And the other thing as well, which is stupid, it's like, it's a team building thing, isn't it? People didn't go and enjoy their lunch together. They sit around and imagine it gets to lunchtime, right? Let's give you an example here. It gets to lunchtime and we know that Bruno and Dallo are supposedly the ones who are the most close with Ruben Amorim. And they're like, oh, should we go and sit and have lunch together? Right? So Bruno and Dallo have got this lovely grilled chicken salad with halloumi, avocado. They've got this beautiful lunch. And they're sat on the same table alongside Ruben Amorim and his coaches who have got a bowl of soup and a sandwich. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just creating a bit of a divide. I'm not by any means saying that every single employee that works at Manchester United should be given free food. Definitely not. 100% not. But those people who work in the professional sports, Carrington, they should obviously, but it's just funny, isn't it? It's just another story that's been leaked. Obviously, it looks it's just comical, isn't it? It's comical. There's no other way of describing it. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I hope this has somewhat brightened up your Monday to know that Ruben Amorim will be enjoying a nice tasty soup this lunchtime. Have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow morning. If there's any more updates on the soup, obviously I will go live, so make sure you subscribe. This has been Daily Red Devil, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.